Welcome, Vancouver Film School current students and alumni, and just interested industry parties to VFS Online Industry Talks. This is an exciting one for me in particular. Usually I'm sitting here in the capacity of lowly host, just talking about super impressive people. Today, I'm talking about super impressive people, and I get to be the least impressive person involved in this conversation. It's about a beloved sci-fi short film called The Shipment. We're going to talk about the genesis of this sci-fi hit and its Vancouver Film School roots. So with me, I have actor Aleks Paunovic. Myself, you guys, if you go to VFS, you know me, Omari Newton. I was an actor in this film. Producer and actress Ana Carrizales, and also we have Bobby Bala, the director, producer, and writer of this project. Welcome, everyone. How are you?
Yeah, we're doing great. Yeah,
awesome,
great to be here.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us today, and welcome everyone. I see people leaving comments here, and just to let you know, if you have questions for any of our panelists, you can put it in the Q&A section. We'll get to them in the second half. This is going to be about an hour conversation, so you can put stuff in the comments, but the questions we're going to save until the end. So, for those who don't know, this short film, The Shipment, is like the little short that kept growing in momentum. It started off being submitted to some small festivals, then got into some prestigious festivals like the Newport Beach Festival, Film Festival, the Palm Springs Film Festival, and the Tribeca Film Festival, which all of us here had the pleasure of attending live and in person. The premise of the film, it's an ex-slave trader struggles to live a reformed life as a lowly interplanetary cargo hauler. Stranded and broke, he faces his dark past and difficult ethical choices in a desperate attempt to provide a better life for his daughter. This is the premise of the film. And Bobby, can you tell the audience about the genesis of this idea?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm like a huge Star Wars fan growing up, and so I was basically faced with a choice. Okay, do I make kind of a Star Wars fan film, or should I just create something like a story that would exist in the Star Wars universe? So yeah, I just wanted to create kind of like a survival story, just a father-daughter story, and I wanted to create a film with my daughter at the time, who was about 10 years old when I started writing the script. So, I just wanted to have that experience of making a film with her. And originally, it was just supposed to be this kind of 5 to 10 minute, simple sci-fi film, but it just kind of snowballed into this monster, what it became. But yeah, I mean, the genesis of it was just I was at a gas station one day and I saw a big rig pull in, and I kind of started thinking, like, what if this was in space, and instead of a rig, it was like a big cargo hauler, and I saw a little girl jump out of the cab. So it just kind of sparked from there, and then I just started writing the story from that. So yeah, that was pretty much it.
And you, additionally, you are also a VFS graduate.
I am, yeah, in 1995 or 96. I think I graduated from high school in 94. And then I think I went to college for like 6 months or something. I didn't like anything there. Then I went to VFS. And then, yeah, I think I was in one of the first 3D animation classes in 96. Yeah, I was with Phil Planta, actually. So me and Phil, everyone knows Phil really well in the industry, so him and I were in the first class.
One of the more prolific producers in town. Everybody in the industry knows Phil for sure.
Yeah, Phil's great. Yeah.
Now, Ana, can you talk about your involvement in this film and how you came to be part of this? And you're currently muted, so that's a fail right out in the gate. And it is a competition, and I'm judging.
and I teach from Zoom all the time, so yeah. But Zoom is not Zoom if this doesn't happen.
That's right.
So Bobby was friends with my partner, Arun, and he approached Arun with a project. And the project was a 4-page idea at the time. Yeah. So it was very short. It was just going to be a little thing. And we thought, why not? Let's jump in, and Arun said, hey, do you wanna help me do this? And little we know that this became into something like this big, right? And that was, Bobby, like 5 years ago. 4 years ago.
Yeah, it was in I think 2014 when I first talked to you guys, and we started shooting in 2015, and then post production I think took 2 or 3 years. So yeah, it was a grind for sure for that long. I would say that was the most difficult part of the whole project, was just the length of it. I think if I ever do another project, you definitely want to keep it less than a year, because it just really takes a toll on you. So I think this whole thing is like part webinar and part therapy for me, part therapy session. So yeah.
And I know that my involvement in the film, I can briefly say, came through knowing Ana. I know that we'd worked together, I think way back in the theater scene in Urban Inc. initially, and then we were on a TV show together, Continuum, which I worked on. But that's how I became involved, which leads me to talking to the star of our film. So a lot of you guys watching this right now, and I was kind of low key about this, I thought I'd sneak this in, are probably like, that guy looks familiar in the plaid shirt. So if you watch television or film, you probably recognize Aleks Paunovic. His resume is literally too long to read, but you would recognize him from shows like Van Helsing, Snowpiercer. You wouldn't recognize his face from this, but you'd know his performance from War of the Planet of the Apes. Who did you play in that, Alex?
I played Winter, the albino silverback.
An iconic role, but Alex quite literally is in everything that films in town. There's like a rule with the union. They can't film here unless Alex is in a project.
I wish, but thank you for that. Yeah, man, you were the one that got me to be looked at in the show. So, and just when you were talking about yourself and Ana and then Bobby knowing Arun, like that's the thing about this community in not only Canada, but for sure the Vancouver community, especially coming out of VFS, there's so much community involved that everyone wants to get good people that are good performers and good at their job to work together. And I think, I was really lucky that you approached me with the possibility of just reading for it. And I was so stoked to just read for it. I didn't think I was going to read for it 9 times, but
wasn't like after the first time. I think we made you. I think we
3 times.
Like 10 days or something like that.
3 times.
Okay.
Bobby's so quiet, which is fine. I loved it because you had such passion for the project, and you wrote it with the idea of your daughter being in it. So it made total sense that you wanted it to be perfect. And I was very lucky to be involved and get cast with you guys. But again, I think it's that source of community that allows for a project like this to happen, and not only the working relationship during it, which I think was great, and we really jammed on it. We worked together, and Omari came in with some great ideas with his character, which I absolutely love. So those are the kind of things that I just you sink your teeth in, and that was one of the biggest things for me, was just how everyone was moving forward through the trials and tribulations. Ana being a top-notch producer and making things roll forward, and the makeup team, like it was just great. It was great.
Besides, well, the most expensive thing on the film was Alex's trailer.
Yeah, exactly.
He walked in, he's like, "Where's my trailer?
Where's my trailer? You give me my trailer."
But something that I do want to say, based on the 3 reads that Aleks made, because that is true actually, and one was a coffee shop, if I remember well.
Yeah.
And that was the last one. That's one what Bobby got sold with you. That was the coffee shop, I think. The attitude. I mean, you have a heavyweight like Aleks, who had more experience than most of us on the set, to be honest. Walking in with such, I mean, I'm not blowing your horn, but I've told you this before, with such humility and really willing to get his hands dirty and really willing to adjust to an indie shoot.
I also think the biggest thing is like working with a first-time film director like myself. I mean, it was just so nice having someone so patient to work with me, because I was learning as I was going on. I mean, like it was the first. So Aleks was so experienced that it just made my job so much easier.
And I can share some insight that's interesting. But Aleks, I thought of you because we had just worked together on Continuum, and it's interesting. I'd seen your work for years. And you often play the heavy. You usually play these like tough guys. And what was funny is we got to talk a little bit, as you do on a film set, off camera. And Aleks is such a warm guy in person that I remember being like, man, this guy would be great in like more of a Harrison Ford kind of like, action rogue good guy thing. And this was before I knew about the Shipment. This is before I was involved in it. And then when Ana approached me and Ana, approached me for a role, thinking non-traditionally, which, by the way, shout out to you guys for like doing the thing that everybody always talks about, casting diverse actors without making it a thing. You just were thinking about actors you wanted. So Ana approached me and then talked to me a little bit about who they wanted for the hero of this story. And right away, I was like, Aleks Paunovic is your guy.
Hmm.
My point being, I believe in you from the beginning. I wouldn't have made you audition 3 times. I'm better than Bobby and Ana, but I'm trying to say.
Sorry to put you through that, Alex, but in the end, it all worked out.
That's how the humbleness came in. It's like, I gotta go in again. Oh man.
So let's talk a little bit about the process of taking an idea, and we'll start with Bobby, from kind of abstract concept to production. Take us through that.
I'm gonna jump in real quick because the previs that he did was better than most animated films that could have easily gone to festivals. So he was so diligent with making sure his vision was seen, and then whatever happens outside of the vision is one thing. I think it gets frustrating for directors or producers when they have a vision and they're trying to parlay it into a conversation to where the other actors, the other people a part of it, will kind of like be off the vision a little bit. But he made sure that we all saw the vision, and then we kind of went from there. And I thought that was phenomenal.
Yeah, so I mean, it all started from concept art. I actually started the concept art first. The visions that I kind of had it in my head, like for example, when James Cameron talked about the first vision that he had about Terminator was the exoskeleton robot guy or whatever, right? So that was his first image. So I had a whole bunch of these like kind of random images that I turned into a story. So then I started writing the script from the images that I saw. So I hired a few concept artists to start developing this idea. So then it started growing kind of organically from there. And then once the script was done, they say once your script is done, your movie is done, because it's there. All you got to do now is just shoot it, right? And I mean, easier said than done. But previs. So yeah, in regards to the previs, it accomplished a few things. Number one, it got people excited about the project, and I was like, okay, like I'm just a first-time filmmaker. Nobody knows who the hell I am. Like I need to at least convince people that I know somewhat what I'm doing, and it just helped me, gave me a good guide map, especially when you're shooting everything on green screen. Like you got to know where everything is, and it was just a really good guide map. So I basically created a previs of the whole entire film, like shot by shot by shot, and it has its advantages and disadvantages too. Like our cinematographer Naeem Sutherland. I mean, he was absolutely amazing, but sometimes they feel like they're kind of restricted in a way. They're restricted to that shot, and they want to explore that creativity. So there was some balance there where I wanted to give Naeem his creativity and freedom, but then we also had to kind of stick to the previs as well too.
So two questions then. How close is the final film as we see it to the original script and the original previs that you laid out?
It'd be interesting to see. I haven't watched the previs for like 4 or 5 years. So I should actually watch that, and it'll be interesting to see. I think it's pretty close though. I would say it's like at least 90%.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Ana, as producer, when you got the first script, did your eyes pop out of your head, and did you think, how are we going to do this? This is going to be astronomical. What was your reaction?
I think that I have never done a sci-fi before, so I didn't know what we're getting into.
Everyone got thrown into the fire. We just all jumped into this fire pit together.
I remember walking to this big warehouse that we had. We have like 3 warehouses together, and we had like different scenes, different locations set up there. And I remember walking in there, and I stopped because I was running like a chicken without a head, because there were only 2 producers in the whole show. Me and Arun were doing production, and that was insane. I don't even understand how the set worked, because we had really that and 3 PAs, and that was it. So I remember walking, stopping myself, seeing 60 people and the green screens, and me thinking, what is this? And then realizing the monster that it was. And it was, I think, the 3rd day, because that's the only day that I could think about it. And my heart started, like really, really going like really heavy and fast. And I thought, well, we're here.
Yeah, the first day on set was probably one of the most stressful days I could ever think of, other than my kids being born. Those were really stressful days. But right after that was the first day on set, because my daughter was not experienced at all. She had just as much experience as I did, which was almost zero. So
daughter, for those who don't know, played one of the main characters, played Alex's daughter in the film.
Yeah, exactly. So when I'm in dad mode day to day, it's hard to switch to director mode. So then I had to go to Ana and be like, okay, I'm not really getting the kind of the performances that I need. So we had to kind of work with her, and luckily she kind of caught on pretty quick. So a lot of it could have turned out really bad actually, but we were pretty lucky that everything kind of just fell into place. And the toilet was overflowing like the first day, and there was just water all over the floor, and we thought someone might get electrocuted. It was stressful.
The first day, the bath broke, and the very expensive lights were there, and I remember myself mopping the sewage, and we fixed it, and we closed that bathroom. And then I called the landlord. It was a health liability, so we called professionals to clean. And I don't know if we ever told you this, Bobby, but 2 hours later, the bathroom breaks again, because the bathroom in the other side shared the pipes.
Oh, yeah.
And we had to do the whole thing all over again. And that was the first day. But one thing that I recognize about Bobby, and I recognize about Ishana, is that they started kind of the first day looking at everything with kind of a shaky foot. And then as days went by, you see the exponential growth that happened. But I mean, it wasn't just step by step. It was exponential. Every single day, they were just getting better and better and better. And it got to a point where it actually looked like and felt like, and I think the qualities there, that it was a professional set.
It's kind of like fight or flight. I mean, it really felt like that, as like either I can just curl up in a ball and start crying in the corner, or I could just fight, and I chose to fight. So
listen, man, that's like, you took on a massive project for your first film that you were doing. And it wasn't just a 3-minute short film. We were in over 30, was it 26 or 30 minutes?
31 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the exponential growth, I totally agree with Ana, because those are the kind of things that make or break you. You know what I mean? Like, I think people need to be put in positions that much more so they can see their growth and what their potential is. Yeah. I think once we started rolling, both you and Ishana were just elevated everything, and it was great to be on that set. I'm not gonna lie, when that first day happened and the toilet broke, I think I did one of those little elbows to Naeem, and I just kind of went, well, if this isn't going to be a shit show, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
Well, Aleks, I'm curious for you. You ironically have been on some of like the biggest budget projects that come to Vancouver. Like, I don't know, the budget on C was the hundreds of millions, right? That was Apple TV. So what did you find, like, aside from the obvious, what was the main difference, or were there similarities between being on a sci-fi show that had crazy scale and a show like this?
This was better. This show was better because it was a passion project, and there wasn't a lot of money, so we had to get it. We just had to get it. And those bigger productions have the room because they have so much money that they can take the time. They don't hit the specifics the way, they don't communicate. And I think that was one of the biggest things, communication with actors and crew and on set and ADs. This was a tight-knit thing to where Ana, Arun, and Bobby enrolled everybody into the passion. And that's why everybody always went above and beyond. Because when you're kind and you have a vision, and shit's going sideways, but you're still kind and compassionate. That's where, pardon me?
The shit's literally going sideways. Sorry, that was a horrible joke.
Exactly. Yeah, literally going sideways. But those are the environments that make me want to do above and beyond, like move cables, like let's rush and let's get this done, because they want to involve you in the whole thing. And that doesn't happen a lot on the bigger production. So like the memories that I have working, and I think it was in total like 3 months on a short film, which is pretty insane. 2 or 3 months, right?
Well, we shot for 17 days altogether. Right. It took, yeah.
But then we went back and spread it.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did a couple of reshoots as well too. But we took, I think, a week or two off in between. So we first shot the first half, and then took a week off, and then shot the second half.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that to me was just like, you know, and you don't get those amount of days on an indie short film. But I think that's what makes it a lot different is the passion behind it and how people treat each other.
Yeah, they say it's kind of like, you know, when you shoot on film, traditional film versus shooting digitally, like you only have so much film. So, you know, you're kind of restricted in that way. So you really, yeah, they say that sometimes the shots actually turn out better when you have limited resources. And sometimes just things in general just turn out better when you don't have that much to work with. You just try to maximize everything you can with what you have.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess
going back to experience, I think that if I remember well, none of the head creatives had work on something this massive. None. The most experienced people in actually our set were the actors. Like you, Omari, like Aleks, like Adrian, who did an amazing performance, like Jacques. Those were people who had been on sets before of this massiveness. But all the head creators and the way Bobby was trusting them was incredible. Like he was challenging them a lot and giving them a lot of stamina and say, we have to pull this off. Like we have to pull this vision off. And he would show the previous, and he would show the materials, and he would show the photos and how the actors would look and how the characters would look. So, but it is true that none had this. And for all of us, it was really a great education. Like after the shipment, everything really felt easier after that, because I learned a lot, and I learned a lot from being stretched so fundamentally thin.
I think just in life in general, I mean, like I just learned so much about myself just as a person, and it just makes things, I guess, in life just kind of the challenges that you face for other things. It builds character, I guess, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
What's I think an important takeaway for any students and young filmmakers listening is that artists love to be creative, right? And it's funny how you guys say that Aleks and I were the most experienced, but almost every actor I know, whether they have 1 credit on their resume or like Aleks over 100 credits, if the project sounds cool and the people are cool and there's food and coffee on set and everyone's cool, you'd be amazed at the people you can get to say yes to work with you. If you seem like you're organized and that your heart's in the right place, like you can get collaborative people to work on your project. So just something to remember for you guys who are just starting out and think, oh, I'm not going to bother asking this person, right?
Yeah, I mean, just to jump into that, like if you have a vision and you have like, don't never think too small, like always think big. I mean, like if there's like an A-list, your dream celebrity that you want to work with, and you're like, as long as you have a vision, like go ahead and approach them, contact their people. Like you never know what they'll say, right? And but I mean, obviously it has to be a good story, and that you just is the type of person that you are. You just have to be yourself and just be a good, nice person, and there'd be a lot of people would be willing to work with you. It's not about experience necessarily. It's about people just like to work with good people.
And Bobby, this leads me to another question. It's for everyone, but mainly for you. What was the point in the process where you said, I think this is something special and it's going to work out? Because this film has ended up having an incredible life. For those of you who don't know, in addition to the film festivals I just listed, it's currently, you can watch it on the Dust channel on YouTube, and it currently has over 1 million views, and astonishingly to me, the highest like to dislike ratio I've ever seen. I think there's like 24,000 likes, and the comments are just a love fest for the craftsmanship. So
Yeah.
was there a point where you realized, I think we're onto something special?
You know, it's funny because when we actually got onto Dust just a few months ago, that's maybe at the point, even though it was like a year or two after we finished the film, I was like, wow, this is actually something, like, when you go to the festivals and everything, only a few hundred people are seeing the film, right? And, people are praising the film after at the Q&As and stuff, but then you never really know, okay, are they just kind of being nice or whatever? There's just limited amount of people that have seen the film, and it got a lot of positive, and, we won some awards and stuff. Not that I ever doubted the film, but it's just kind of like, when you don't have a whole lot to compare to, but you're when you get put on Dust against all these other sci-fi films, and you could kind of gauge kind of where you are where you sit. So that was, now that I see all the positive feedback, and like you're saying, the like to dislike ratio, it seems to be something that's in its own kind of place. So I think that's when it's only been really recently that I kind of noticed that.
Okay. Now, I'll ask the same question to Ana and to Aleks. Was there a point, whether it was at the screening or whether when you were watching early edits, where you thought to yourself, I think we might have something special here?
I think, in the experience with the Shipment was very complicated in many ways, because it was a lot. It was a heavy post production. It was a heavy production, and all these things. But I think that what I saw pretty early in the process, and it's something that I've confirmed in projects that I have done after, and it's nothing scientific, is that when there's honesty and vision, we know what it is, because Bobby had a ton of it, because he could see the film over and over in his head with the music that he wanted and the sound that he wanted, and he could convey that over and over. Is the honesty in the storytelling. It was coming from an honest place. It was a story that he didn't make up to impress or to gain attention, or it never came from that place. It came from this gas station, when he wondered about that, and he was like, oh, I wonder what would that look like. And that curiosity was actually, we would breathe that through the whole process, and you start believing that. You start like, oh yeah, I want to see that. I want to. So that is what, against all evidence, sometimes on the first day, and the bathrooms broke and all these things that happen, that's what I thought, this one is a special one, just because this energy was floating. And then after finishing the Shipment, I went to do other projects, and the ones that did the best were those type of projects. When the director comes in and says, oh, I'm coming from this place of authenticity.
Yeah, always as a director, you think you have something, even from the beginning. Like, even when the script is written, you try to be positive about it, but until you get the feedback until you have enough feedback from the audience, only then can you kind of confirm your thoughts on the film. As a director, anyway, director is always going to be the most critical on the film, as more than anyone.
What about you, Aleks? Was there a moment when you thought this is something cool or something special?
I just think for a short film, the magnitude of what we were trying to do, and in hindsight, like when you're thinking about not the finished project and where we are right now, sitting and talking about this, but in the moment, being present in the day, regardless if where this film would have ended up, or even if it, because again, short films and independently financed, you don't never know if it's ever going to see the light of day. But the idea of going after something so big and so challenging and so, and I think the story was just fantastic, that that's what made it really exciting for me. Like the just getting onto the set, 3 warehouses, all the hair and makeup department, and the amazing creations that Sarah made in makeup, all of that really equals to, like, this is something special, regardless of where this ends up. This is a group of people that have a massive passion. So going to set every day like that was pretty great.
Mm-hmm. Now, yes to everything all of you said, but I'd be lying if I didn't say, when I heard it got into Tribeca, And when we went to Tribeca, that's when for me it got really real, because there's something about seeing a movie that you're in and you were, part of the process early in, on a big screen with an audience at a known festival, right? Because this wasn't, obviously all the festivals they get into, you're grateful, but Tribeca was something that anybody who works in the industry has known about. It's like Tribeca and Sundance; those are the festivals you want to get into, and just seeing how good it looked on screen opposite international films just made me really proud for Canada and for the Vancouver industry specifically.
Yeah, that was really huge for me too. I mean, when you have 4 different screenings in these like just amazing historical theaters in New York of all places, I mean, then it definitely feels real at that point. I would say that was definitely the highlight of the whole kind of journey for sure.
And I have to ask too. So talk a little bit about the journey to get it into festivals, and then maybe we'll talk about distribution, because I know, observing, it seemed like the film got a lot of love at big festivals in the States, and it might have been more of a challenge locally to get the film screened.
Yeah, we could probably say a lot of stuff about that, but I don't know. I just can't really put my finger on it. Like, it did really well outside of Vancouver, but for some reason in Vancouver, it just didn't get the love that we thought it would. So I don't know. That's probably a question for some of the local festivals, and can't really answer that.
So if you're listening, Whistler and Viff, next time Bobby Bala does a film, don't wait to Tribeca. No, sorry, I just had to ask.
But you also have to say, hey, Vancouver short film.
yeah, we didn't get into the Vancouver Short Film Festival. It was weird.
We actually didn't, and I would say it was not only Vancouver. I say Canada, generally speaking. I think the states really embraced us. I think it's a question to ask. We should get some feedback about that, because also, Bobby, do you like to tell them that I think some of the clips are in the 50th anniversary of NASA, the moon landing.
Yeah, we did a little music video with Alan Parsons. He's the guy that did the theme song for the Chicago Bulls when they walk in. So he's kind of mainly known for that. And then the Alan Parsons project. So they wanted to use parts of our, or no, he did something with NASA, and then they wanted to use parts of the film for their music video.
What?
I didn't know that. I think there's a couple of questions that I saw.
Wait, can we see this? Can we see this music video?
Yeah. It's out there. I'll send you a link. I thought you knew about it.
He sort of just yada 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 that the guy who did the theme music for the Bulls one is like, oh yeah, Michael Jordan personally asked for some footage, whatever. So let's jump to the questions. By the way, guys, if you have more questions, look at the Q&A box, but I'll read. We have here, Blair Moog says, I just want to say that I love the film. I'm getting into sound design for my career in the entertainment industry. Just wondering how much of a vision there was toward the different aspects of sound. Also, how much thought and effort was put into the soundscape of the project?
Yeah, so that sound, especially music specifically, was huge for me. So when I would hear I started with temp music. I went to musicbed.com. There, I got a lot of music from Musicbed, and just listening to different artists just would generate kind of visions in my head about a certain shot or a certain scene or a certain feel and a certain mood. So again, that's where it really helped by popping that into the previs, that you could kind of get a sense of the feel that you're kind of going for. Composers, the final composers that you're going to eventually be using, I think understandably, they're not really going to like temp music too much, because it's such a box that you're kind of painting them into. So they want to kind of do their own thing. So again, you got to find a balance by letting them do what they want, but then you also have such a strong vision as well, and for yourself as a director. So sometimes it can be challenging, because it's just hard to sometimes let go of a particular music track that you really want to use. And but yeah, anyway, I would say specifically music was one of the top three things as far as the inspiration goes. I'd say the concept art and the script itself, and then music, I think, are the three things that kind of fueled the script and the previs.
But that's another thing, that like music is such a big thing, that another first for me was we had the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra doing our score. Like that was incredible. Like walking into that studio and watching them look at the scenes and doing music to it with, what was it, like a 25 person orchestra?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it was, we used a kind of smaller, as far as the sizes go, it was kind of a smaller size, but yeah, they still were able to kind of knock it out of the park. And they just did an amazing job. It was just amazing just being in the studio and being part of that whole experience.
Bobby, I think you might be too Canadian, because you just yada 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 that the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra scored your movie and like totally downplayed it and totally like, you know,
at Bryan Adams' studio. And
Bryan Adams' studio.
And it was absolutely, like, it was so emotional to sit there and watch. And Crispin Hands wrote the music for it, and it was just phenomenal to walk in there and watch 25 people working on making music for what you just performed in, and they're watching the whole movie and scoring it, and Bobby's there. It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, I think you only live once, and I knew I was going over budget, and at times it got reckless, but it's just that I don't know, I just think big, you know, and sometimes thinking big and doing big things, it can be a good thing, and sometimes it can get you into trouble as well too, being overly ambitious. And you know, so there are definitely things that you know, were stressful at the time. You know, I put myself in that position of, you know, just draining the bank account and bringing, you know, but it was just something that I just had to finish. Like failure was never an option. It was never something that I ever considered. But when you're in that, I mean, it can be a dangerous situation. And luckily my company that funded the film, you know, it was healthy, it was doing well during that time, and it was able to continue to fund the project. But it could have been, you know, if we had a few slow months or a slow year on the business side of things, the whole project could have just shut down and never gotten made, and there just would have been a whole bunch of shots sitting there with a bunch of green screen on them. But you know, luckily everything worked out, and yeah, we just slowly crawled across the finish line. Like literally, like by the time I was done, I just had nothing left. So it took me a while to recover from that.
Now, you don't have.
It sounds like the worst experience ever, and we're all going, it was awesome. It was awesome.
It was
the perfect lines from a director.
Yeah, I know. Perfect lines. I know. It's like I was talking to my wife, and I was telling her, I was like, okay, I don't want to come across as being like negative, right? I want to be positive about the whole experience, and you know, like. But at the same time, like there were definitely a lot of negative things too, but there were a lot of positive things. It was just a mixed bag of everything.
Yeah, we didn't have to see all that. You saw the whole thing. We just saw just what we did, and
at times it just the light just seemed so far. Like it's just the finish line seemed so far at times, you know, and like there was just so much work in front of you. It's just like this mountain that you got to climb, but it just takes a lot out of you. Then you guys just had to show up on set.
So there's some great questions here that are related to what we're talking about here. So Vanessa Kliski, hi Vanessa, says, is there anything you'd wish you'd done differently or known going into the project? Any advice you'd give your past self?
Yeah. Well, I covered some of that already, but yeah, I would say definitely have a budget no matter what. No matter how much you love your project, no matter like, just always have a budget and stick to that budget. I can't stress that enough. And but at the same time, I mean, if I did have a budget and if I knew how much the film would cost, it would not have gotten made. So it was kind of like, you know, ignorance is bliss, I guess, for this particular project. But I wouldn't recommend it to my worst enemy.
But we did have a budget. It got overspent.
Yeah, it was kind of a rough budget. It was a rough budget.
Symphony, right? I mean, from the producing perspective, what I learned is after the shipment, when I'm producing, I control the budget. No one else does.
Yeah.
I do.
We had two budget related questions. You don't have to give a hard number, but Jason Shields and Christopher Orman both asked to what typically a budget for a film like this is and where this film fell in comparison. That's Jason Shields. So I'll let you, to whatever extent you're comfortable, you can answer that one.
Let me just read that. Here's what is typical the budget for a film like this. Well, I'd say, I mean, if Hollywood was to do this film, right, not necessarily from an independent point of view, I mean, an independent project, I think it would have been, could be like millions of dollars, you know, because it's just you're dealing with so much. But I mean, as an independent film, you cut corners as much as you can and hope that people don't notice it in some shots. But even still, there were some shots that we just couldn't fix totally, and you'll notice it on some of the camera tracking. I think actually a couple of your shots, Omari, there was a couple of shots where the camera just didn't look right. But those are the sacrifices.
Camera was fine. It was just a mark.
Yeah, I think that was my performance. The camera was fine. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So sometimes, you know, it's not going to be totally perfect, but we got it as perfect as we can. It's not totally at the level of a Hollywood film, but it's pretty close, you know, as far as the special effects and visual effects and stuff go. But yeah, I mean, like throwing out this specific number about how much we actually did spend, maybe one day I'll be able to kind of divulge that information, but you know, I can't really do that right now. But yeah, I would say, like, you know, if Hollywood were to do it, something like this, it's definitely up there, you know, over 2-3 million for sure. So
it's less than Avengers, more than Reservoir Dogs. That's the answer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We have an anonymous attendee who said, is it common for the film, more the visual aspects, to be produced? Hey, Arun, how's it going? Sorry, that was super not professional interviewing. I just got excited.
Sorry, Mike. I'm producing a feature that begins shooting tomorrow, so I'm here. I'm nice to see you.
Glad you're here, man.
Nice to see you.
Arun is another producer on the film, and thank you for joining us. Now, I'll go back to this question here. It says, is it common for the film, more the visual aspect, to be produced before it's set to music? Are the composers often inspired by the visuals before the music is composed?
Yeah, for me, it was like I did it in conjunction with the concept art. So the concept art and the music, the temp music was equally used as to set up the mood of the previs, I guess you could say. The mood and vision and the visuals of the previs. So that was, yeah, the music had a huge role in that for sure. But I don't know if that's common or not. I don't know if that's how everyone else does it. That's just how it worked for me.
I think, Bobby, one of our very first meetings, even when we first started talking about the script, I think our very first meeting, you said, you know what, music is really important to me. You said that right from the very beginning, how important it is. And you had a very distinct vision how you wanted to be treating the music. That was clear right from the very, very beginning. Early on, even as we were working on the script, you had an idea of how you wanted it to sound in terms of the music.
Sound and music, yeah. You had 100%. Bobby had that from the very, very beginning, which was very helpful for the people who worked.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a person that's going to just, you know, pop in the music after everything's done and be like, okay, find a composition or music for this particular scene. I don't think I could work that way. I would need to find at least some sort of temp music to get some sort of structure there and then build off of that.
Mm-hmm. I'll go back to the questions here. And question from Claudia Casper. Hello, Claudia. And Claudia said, what gave you the inspiration or stamina to continue the project for so long?
The inspiration or stamina to continue the project. I would say that it was just, I just don't accept failure. You know, it's just not something, I just had to just keep going and keep pushing. And it was like, it's kind of like, you know, the best analogy I could use, it was kind of like you're on this quest. It's like Lord of the Rings and you're stuck in this labyrinth and the only way out of this big cave or labyrinth is forward. And there's all these obstacles that come in your way and you just got to keep going forward. You can't go back because the entrance is now covered by big rocks or whatever. So you have to fight these trolls, and you got to just fight your way through this thing. And no matter how many challenges are in your way, you just got to keep fighting, and it's just going to make you stronger. So yeah, I would say that just, yeah, I don't really know. I think, and I would say also just a few days before we started shooting the film, my grandmother passed away. It was like about 5 days before the film. And that was the first major loss that I've ever kind of had to go through with any type of family member. So not only was I all the challenges of the film, but I was also emotionally dealing with that as well too. So it was a double kind of whammy. So I was kind of doing it for her as well too. So I think she kind of pushed me as well too.
Thank you. Christopher Ormrod says, as an indie film, how did you navigate the troubles of 3D animation and VFX in the Shipment?
Sorry, 1 second. Okay. How did you navigate the troubles of 3D animation? Well, we had a lot of the visual effects studios we used were all over the world, from Colombia to Mexico. We did very little visual effects here in Vancouver because it was just so expensive. So I had to find other freelancers. It was just a combination of a lot of freelancers and small indie studios and just people working out of their garage in Colombia. So it was it was really challenging bringing it all together. So but yeah, I think I answered that question, but I'm not sure if I did.
Okay.
Navigate the troubles.
I will say, on set, having that previs helped a ton. So many times Bobby would say, and over here this is happening, and over here this is happening, and Aleks would be looking around like, oh, okay. sure it is. And then we go to the previs, we look at, okay, now I understand.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think I understand the question. Yeah, I think, always coming back to the previs is what really kind of helped.
And having a VFX supervisor on set, it's something that I did learn from the Shipment that is very valuable. Mm-hmm. When you have a production that size and that scale, that you have that focus is there to make sure that you really nailing it on the head. So you are really looking at your parameters, you're really focusing. And that was great to have on our set.
And again, the level of how good the previs was, because again, we're looking at just green screen when we were acting, when Omari and I had our scene, and I think that like the big thing is like when you're looking at stuff at green screen, like, okay, the ship may be over there, but how big is the ship? Like how far is it? And that's what the previs really helped with, really being specific to the sizes of what we're imagining when we're on the green screen stage.
Yeah, I should actually upload the previs one of these days. And I think it would be a good thing for VFS students to actually look at as well too, so they could kind of compare this to the film.
It's because that is when the director has an answer for everything. And this is very important because these are very technical questions that Aleks, as an actor, would come and have. And normally directors on set don't have answers on a regular set for this. And yet Bobby said, okay, you want to look at this. This is the size, this is what it looks like, this is the texture, this is that. And then Aleks, who's a great performer, can do so much more with that information. And in regular sets, I find that lacking a lot. So
yeah, I think that even if it's not, it doesn't even have to be a film that has a lot of visual effects. Even if it's a romantic comedy, you could previs a romantic comedy by having just hand-drawn sketches that you shoot, or you put it into an editing program and you put some music over top of it and you just kind of cut it together just to kind of get a rough idea. It's just so much more, again, you want to get excitement you want to get everyone excited about the project and show them what your vision is. And the script can only go so far, right? Of that, by putting music in there, it could be completely different experience,
After the Shipment, we do try to storyboard everything. I mean, I cannot make a previs because I'm not as experienced with that. But after the Shipment, I don't go to any production without storyboarding everything. Like I learned the Robert Rodriguez way by working with Bobby. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I went like, oh, that's how Robert Rodriguez does it. And that's how he gets away with a lot. And that's how we got away with a lot in terms of pulling through the days in terms like we had crews of 65 people on our set. Let's not forget that. And there were days that we had 100 plus people on our set when we had the extras going on. So it was a massive undertaking. Had Bobby not had the previs and the clear of vision, that we would have not had what we have on the screen right now.
Absolutely.
Those elements were crucial, because every single, from actors to PAs, and this sounds crazy, but from actors to PAs, understood what was happening, when it was happening, and how were things being run. So that's something that I think Bobby brought in, and it's something that the students should really, really make a note, because it makes things so much easier.
It takes time, but it's worth the investment. A lot of people want to rush into shooting the film or rush into the next phase, but you really, really got to invest in that time of the previs or your really strong storyboarding. Otherwise, it's going to catch up to you later, and you're going to wish that you had just spent that extra time. Number one, never rush the script, but also never rush your storyboarding and previs as well too.
Quick question for Aleks, just for any actors watching here. What advice would you give to actors who've never worked in genre stuff, where there's like maybe, green screen or mocap, in terms of grounding yourself? How should they approach it?
I mean, everybody approaches their instrument differently, but for me, it was truth. Just finding the truth and the connection in everything. I mean, yeah, it's sci-fi, but at the end of the day, it's a father-daughter story of just, wanting his daughter to be proud of him and doing the right thing. And so, and with all the visualization that comes with it, because of we're working on green screens, it's really connecting to the people that are around, like in the scenes. Like one of my favorite scenes ever is me and you in that me and Armani in that scene that we have. And I loved it because we were jamming off each other and we were suggesting stuff for each other. And I love that kind of working idea. And that's what personally grounds me, especially in the sci-fi world. You just have to find what means something special to you within the story, and really sink into that and tell your truth.
But I want to say something just by watching the two of you work, and something that it was a very good learning experience for me. Like, you come prepared with the truth, like you have it, and you're willing to play to see what layers you can discover. Because I saw you folks changing and morphing and doing different things, but also it was the first time that I would look at something that's called technical acting, where you're pressing with your truth, but you're aware of what's going around you. And that blew me off, because we got Aleks first on our set on that first day, and it blew me off that he was asking for size, that he was looking at the monitor, that he was asking, okay, what's the shot? What's the next shot? Where is the camera? Oh, the camera is there. Okay, what am I looking into? Okay, when is it coming from? What is happening here? Where's the other? So he was not being annoying about it. He was being very creative about it, because he was saying, feed me so I can feed you. Yeah. Give me food so I can give that. I can give you the dish ready. And I thought, that is a freaking technical actor on the works. And then you came in, Omari, and did the same thing. Jacques came in and did the same thing. Adrian came in and did the same thing. So we got a bunch of actors who were prepared, had their truth, but they all like, I need info and that is why all the performances look so great on camera.
Yeah, I wanted to say, speaking on coming up with that truth at the heart of the scene, for me, really shines through in that scene, Aleks, with you and Adrian. And there's no subtitles at all. And you're just talking in this alien language. But the audience knows what's going on because it is so true. Like, it's so apparent. Okay, I know exactly what they're saying. I don't have a clue what they're saying, but I know what they're saying because it is grounded in that truth. It is grounded in that reality.
Well, and when Shoshana is coming, it's when they meet on the ramp with Shoshana, and Aleks is there, and Shoshana is pissed because Aleks had taken this bad deal of trading slaves. That scene to me is also a great scene to see, like Aleks on the works and Shoshana on the works, or the truth there. But also, I would like the actors to know that it's not just Aleks showing up and say, okay, this is my truth. Is Aleks, okay, when is this happening? Where is the camera? Like there's questions that he asks that actually make sure that he owns the space. And that's what I learned from you, Aleks, and I learned from Omari. You are my forever coach, so I learned that with you constantly. But that's what our cast brought up on their sets, and I was so thankful to be a witness of that.
That's awesome. And I think for actors out there listening, it's just going to be beneficial to you to know, know what your lenses are, understand what lenses are, understand where the lighting is, because if you're, if you're lit in a certain way and you're, let's say, lit more this way, you can really use the light a little bit better to really make the film. It's not about making you look better, make the film look better. So if I know I'm light here, but I'm over here and I'm darker here, it's just looking at the monitor. One of the tricks that I love to use is, when I have a stand-in, I'll look at the monitor to look at the shot to see how he's lit. So then I understand where the lighting is. So it's just little things that helps your performance a lot better. But knowing your lenses is a big thing, because when you know you're this close and you can ask, like, am I in a cowboy? Am I in a close-up? And you just have to be a little bit more subtle and more present in this, but you have a little bit more room for this kind of a shot. So just understanding where your levels are at and where you want to hit, because I don't want to, on a huge wide establishing, I don't want to give my emotional performance 100% there. But when I know that close up and the coverage is coming, that's when I can empty out my soul so the camera can catch everything. So little things like that.
And I'll go even deeper actor nerd here, but understanding what your fourth wall is essential when you're working in green screen. And for those who aren't actors, the fourth wall is like everything that we play in as actors is in the shot. The expression comes from theater, where you see the three walls, the one on your left, the one behind you, one on your right. The fourth wall is often what we're staring out at. And when you're on a stage that's basically totally empty, you have to be technical. You have to know, when I'm looking this way, there's a massive ship and there's slaves being dragged away, or else you're just going to be staring blankly at a white wall, and it's going to resonate in your performance. If you don't fill yourself with what's happening off screen, the audience will know. So that's my
answer. That's where. So I've been looking into virtual production as well too, and a lot what they're doing with the Mandalorian. They're using like huge LED screens and stuff too. That I wish we had that, but it's funny. Like if we were to actually make the film now, I would have probably done it on a very small virtual production setup. It probably would have ended up costing just as much or cheaper, but that would have even allowed you guys to actually visually see the world. Like you would just have to turn around and it was like right there.
The Shipment too. Keep on trucking.
yeah.
There's two related questions here. So Jordan Colony said, it sounds like the cast and crew were very close on this production. What made this so? Did you do team building dinners? And Blair Lawrence said, aside from the script read, did the talent have scheduled time before production so they could develop subtleties and rapport? So anybody want to answer that?
I want to say something about that that's important. Yes, like we did have lots of conversations with Bobby, most likely, like really personal. We met a lot. We were in constant contact, leading production. And I knew Omari's a person that I not only admire, but I consider a friend. So there were some connections there. There were some other actors that I had worked with that I brought in. But I think that what did it is, and I swear on this, because I've done lots of productions after that, when it's what Aleks said, when you have passion and you love what you're doing, and when you find that you are trapped in a situation where you don't have enough experience, you have 100 people on your set, you're doing Sci-Fi for the first time, but you love what you're doing and you really, really want to get it right, it's contagious.
Yeah.
It's just contagious. It's magical. You can have trouble, things can be stressful, but you see people working their butts because they all want a piece of that energy. They all want a piece of that thing. We just wrapped up production 2 weeks ago, and we had that with our crew. Like we finished and everyone was depressed because they wanted to continue, right? Because it was the same sort of energy. And that really happened in the shipment, that we've learned in the most stressful situation. We never lost it with anyone. We were just always kind, always joking. Aleks showed up with coffees for everyone. Again, did I say there was 5? And he was taking orders, which was the most ridiculous thing. He was like, what do you want? What do you want? And I'm like, how long is he going to do this for? And he, and everyone was looking at their coffees, and I'm like, yeah, I got what I ordered. So is those little things are magical when you're on a set. The kind
and I think also is, I don't know if it's just a Canadian thing, but everyone just felt like family, like really quickly. Like, it's like we've known each other for a long time. I think everyone's just like, just what you see is what you get, with everyone. It's like everyone's just very down to earth. There was no fakeness or anything. There wasn't. Sometimes when you meet people, you don't really, it takes a while to get a read on them, right? Like, what's this guy's deal or whatever. But with everybody else, it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, this is who Aleks is, this is who he is, this is who Arun is, right? So you feel like comfortable right away. And I hope I made everyone else feel comfortable as well.
Oh, it was an honest set.
Mm-hmm.
We were candid about everything. It's not that we played big shot producer. We were like, well, we're doing this. Let's see how it goes. You, Bobby, were saying, you know what? This is the first time I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I'm here to learn. Like, we were very, very open with our shortcomings, and we were very open with our experience. And I think people love that.
We're also terrified.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important. You got to keep egos in check as well too, and not like, you don't want to scare people. You want everyone to work as a team, as collaborate, right? And it can be kind of scary sometimes. It can be scary for the actors. They don't know who this new director is, so you got to make everyone feel comfortable. And you don't want to be too scary or anything. And but I could see how some sets can be a little tense and stuff, but I tried to keep it as light as possible.
In my experience, if your director is cool and your lead is cool, the set's cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually how it goes. Because even if the producers are stressing out, if the director's cool and your number one is cool, then everybody takes the lead from them. So shout out to Bobby and Aleks for leading the way in that regard.
Amen.
And I just want to say a little bit of trivia piece. I remember Aleks approaching me, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I always thought that was the case. Aleks approached me and said, Ana, I hate to do this to you. And this is Aleks talking, by the way, the most experienced person in our set at that time beside Omari. I'm sorry about this. I feel horrible, but I have a very important audition tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Can I go? And I looked, and it was screwing everything. And I said, how important it is. I cannot tell you. Can you give me a hint? And he said, well, it has to do with monkeys. And I'm like, you know what? Take the day.
Wow.
That was the audition, Aleks.
No way.
Which he got.
What he got. But it was really interesting how apologetic he was.
Yeah.
And how I was like, is it important? Well, yeah, it has to do with monkeys and it's very important. I'm like, oh, you go. No problem. Good luck. Break a leg. And then turn around and said, and that night we just try to figure it out, because Arun ended up doing call sheets with like at the middle of the night with me. So it was but it was really interesting as a piece of trivia that Aleks got that, and it just speaks of how focused he is, because he was deep on this and then had enough.
But also like, you're my commitment, so of course I'm going to be apologetic. This is the commitment that I made. So if it was gonna screw the production because I was gone, then I wouldn't have done it. But again, it's a great working relationship that makes it happen.
And I will say, it also speaks to something that young filmmakers should remember, is that you have to be flexible, especially if you're asking, it's not that it's a favor, but if you're asking experienced people to collaborate with you on projects, right, and they're willing to work with you, you do have to be flexible, because situations like that come up. And I've had other projects, ironically, even in like theater, where someone is so wrapped up in their vision that they're completely inflexible if something like that comes up. And I think it's harder to work with experienced people if you don't have that flexibility. So shout out to you guys for doing that.
Yeah, thanks.
And I realize we're nearing the end, and Aleks has to run. So just final question for everybody. Just tell people what do we have to look forward to next? And I'll start with you, Aleks. I know you got to go. What should we be looking out for
season 3 of Snowpiercer coming up, and then I shot a very, very cool gig out in New York and Atlanta that I can't talk about yet, but I cannot wait to talk about. And that's going to be quite exciting. And I also did this Anthony Hopkins movie, which I'm like over the moon about, and we're getting ready to do some really cool stuff with that. So yeah, it's been good. It's been awesome.
I think Anthony Hopkins, I think he'll do okay, that actor. I've heard
Yeah, he's gonna go places, that guy.
Fingers crossed for that kid. Bobby, what about you? What's next?
Right now, honestly, I'm just doing me right now. I'm just having fun and just, okay, see you, Alex. Yeah,
Bye, guys. I love you.
Meet up.
Love
I
seeing
wanted
you.
to, Alex, I wanted to give you a special surprise for you. So I'll tell you more about it later. So let's meet up, and I want to give you something, but I'll talk to you about it later. So.
What a tease. All right, love you guys. I'll talk to you later.
Well,
Bye, guys.
thank you. You're the man.
Oh yeah. So right now, I'm just kind of enjoying just taking it easy and just maybe recharging myself before the next project. I have a couple of things in mind. I have a script that's about halfway written, but I don't know, I just haven't gotten it to yet. So just focusing on building my business, and I might do some maybe some real estate development on the side for a little while and stuff. So and then I'm hoping maybe next spring or summer I might do another short film, but I kind of want to shoot it on traditional film just to kind of get that experience, but something very simple, like a 5 or 10 minute film. And then after that, maybe start, maybe think about a feature or something. So yeah, not doing a whole lot right now.
Bobby, I like how your version of taking time to recover includes writing a script, starting a real estate development business, and then getting to work on a feature. That's
well,
we can take it easy.
Yeah, no, well, before I start all that, I'm just going to take it easy for a while.
Only Bobby does real estate development on the side.
On the side, yeah, just a little, yeah. Ana, Arun, what's up with you guys? What are you guys working on? Or how's life? I don't know, everything.
We're good. I wrapped a film that I directed in January, so it's starting the festival route, which is great. I shot it outside Vancouver, 4 hours from Vancouver, so that was really interesting. I am in development of finishing the script and hopefully developing a feature film. And then we are also developing documentaries, so we shot most of it. We are finishing the pilot of a TV show. It's finished, so we're going to start moving that around. Yeah,
we just wrapped production on a gangster heist film a couple weeks ago, and then I start principal photography on another sci-fi horror thriller tomorrow.
Amazing.
That was another genre, a different genre. It was like a crime crime thing.
What about you? What about you, Omari?
Yeah.
I'm doing my thing. I do voices for the cartoons. I'm continuing doing the voice of Black Panther for different Marvel things. Corner Gas, the animated series. I do a couple voices on that, and fans of anime, Dragon Prince. I play Corvus on that. We got picked up for 4 more seasons, and I write plays. And proud to say, I'm a senior instructor at the Vancouver Film School. So anybody listening that some of my students might be listening, and if you want to study acting and want to work with me, you can come hang out at VFS.
And your play is out.
Yes.
And my play will debut at the National Arts Center and Black Theatre Workshop in Montreal.
When is it going to be in Vancouver, please?
We don't officially have a Vancouver producer yet. So when we do, I will definitely blast it. And we plan on it being national. So yeah.
And we got to shoot our short in October, Omari.
Oh, great. I was going to ask you guys, but okay.
We'll talk later about that one.
And
amazing.
The short you star in, it's ready. So he's going to send it to you.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. The Garbage Man?
Connect on that later.
Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing. Okay, great. I need to do more of these so I get more jobs. You see what happened there, guys? Host a panel, get a gig. But honestly, thank you everyone for tuning in today. Hope you learned some cool stuff and hope you had a good time and great seeing you guys. Love you guys and see you soon.
Thank you, everybody.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.